All right, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished speakers, esteemed attendees, the organizers of ZEST 2017, thank you so much for pulling off yet another time a brilliant event like the one that we are attending here today. My name is Abdalla Kablan. I am a serial entrepreneur and the founder of a number of startups operating mainly in the fields of artificial intelligence, fintech, and professional matchmaking. And I'm here to talk to you today about AI, blockchain technology, Internet of Things, and effective computing. However, I'll be very honest with you. I've been preparing for this speech for a number of weeks now. However, recently, on a personal level, I've been going through some quite exciting times. And the most exciting part of what I'm going through at the moment is I'm about to become a father. Thank you. Literally any time. So if I receive a phone call now and I have to rush off the stage, please forgive me in advance. So because of that, and to keep on using startup terminology, please allow me to kind of reintroduce myself. My name is Abdalla Kablan, and I'm about to become the father and a co-founder of a beautiful little human being. And because of this and this change, you suddenly realize the weight of responsibility as the due date approaches. Instead of just thinking of yourself, your partner, your life, your career, your colleagues, now you suddenly realize that you have to take care of someone else. You have to take care of your offspring. And you have to make sure that they live in a future that's better than the one you've lived in. So today, I would like to, perhaps to keep on the science fiction theme, I would like to imagine the future for my little boy. How is he going to live in a future that is governed by technology? If I think about my own dad, I'm sure he's never imagined that we'll live in a time of the internet and mobile phone devices that we're continuously looking at all the time. So I can only imagine how technologies such as artificial intelligence are going to change the life of my child. So is he going to be best friends with an AI? Or is he going to lead the human rebellion against the machines that have taken over the world in a post-apocalyptic world? I hope not the latter, but in order to ensure the first one, we need to understand the technologies that are going to take over the world quite soon. And one of the most prominent technologies, which is one that some of my fellow speakers have mentioned earlier, is artificial intelligence. As we know, artificial intelligence is the notion of the creation of intelligent software that, through a process of data acquisition, filtration, processing, can perform tasks such as insight analysis and pattern recognition in order to exhibit some form of intelligent behavior. This intelligence can be narrow form of intelligence, such as beating the human world champion at chess, or slightly more exponentially difficult problem, beating the world champion at Go. But this is called narrow intelligence because the problem is quite well defined. You have a set of different moves that you can make on a board, and you need to calculate all the different permutations of these moves in order to beat your opponent. However, there is another type of artificial intelligence, which is artificial general intelligence, trying to create self-drive cars or try to create a recommendation engine that through your behavioral patterns will recommend to you which movie to watch and so on and so forth. And because of that, artificial intelligence is becoming quite prominent, and at the same time, we are moving in a time where artificial wisdom is going to be achievable quite soon. And to explain that, if we think about big data, and I remember 3-4 years ago in every conference that I either spoke to or attended, big data was the buzzword, and we live in the world of big data. Now we live in a world where we have already established that once you gather all this big data, you process it, and it becomes information. The accumulation of information helps us gain knowledge about a problem. Knowledge evolves into an understanding of the problem domain, and understanding with practice, with application, and with experience evolves into wisdom. However, most AI systems fail to transition from knowledge bases to actual wise AIs. And the difference is quite big. Knowledge is being able to differentiate between what is true and what is false. Wisdom is being able to differentiate between what is right and what is wrong. And that's why achieving that form of wisdom for an AI has not been a straightforward task. Adding to that, we need to move towards a world where we can look at an AI as a friend, but at the same time, make sure that the AI is also perceiving us as their friends, so it's a bidirectional problem. From a human standpoint, this is not that difficult to achieve. I mean, friendship in general is an emotional response and a chemical reaction in the brain. If we think about it, we have our human best friend, someone that we can trust, someone we can rely on, someone that we go way back, they know a lot about us, and if we are in trouble, we can go to them and seek advice, and they will always understand us because they see where we're coming from. You can also have your dog as your best friend, or dog as man's best friend's been there for centuries. It's an animal that is there for you, it's happy to see you, it wags its tail when you walk in, and you actually feel the same emotional response and your brain triggers the same reaction. With AI, it's slightly different. We've always looked at an AI from a master-slave standpoint. I am the human, you're the AI, you're a chatbot, or you're a virtual assistant, or you're an artificial assistant. But in reality, there is no reason why we cannot take the AI up to the same spectrum as our human best friend, our dog best friend, and our AI best friend. They're all different, but they all trigger the same chemical reaction in the brain whenever we see them. But the difference is in the sense that if you can ask your human best friend to go and fetch a ball for you, they'll tell you to go and F off. Or if you actually go to your dog and ask them about relationship advice, they might ask you to go and sniff your crush, which is not something recommendable. So we established that they are different, but we feel the same emotional attachment to them. And emotional attachment with AI can happen through user experience. It can happen through the way we design the product. Humans tend to relate to something that is likable, that's relatable, and something that they can visualize. If we think about it, some of the most brilliant AIs that are out there, Siri, Cortana, IBM Watson with its different product propositions, Alexa, who are they? We can't see them. We cannot visualize them. We can't interact with them. You'll be speaking to Alexa and the Echo is like, hey, who are you? What are you doing in there? Or in the movie here that was mentioned earlier, you're talking to an operating system, and it's very difficult to build some form of emotional attachment or emotional bonding with something that we cannot actually see, which is why, and I always say that the Japanese have always been around 25 years ahead of the game. 25 years ago, they introduced a very simple game, such as Tamagotchi. It has only 2 buttons. You either feed it or you bait it, but it was a character. It was something that we can see. It was something cute. And people got so addicted and so attached to that just because of the character. And that's why adding a face, or something as simple as adding a face to an AI and making sure that that face reacts to us in the same way that a human would react to us, that makes a huge difference from a product standpoint. So this is from the human side. From the AI side, we need to make sure that the AIs that we are building are what we call data agnostics. They are AI that do not distinguish between different data sets, because most of the AIs that we're building, they're built for a specific purpose. Let's solve that difficult mathematical equation, or let's build the best recommendation engine. And in a time where everyone is in a rush to build the best Einstein, in reality, we need to build an Aristotle, a bit of a philosopher that understands the psychology of the person, that can perform natural language processing, sentiment analysis, understands our emotional state, understands where we come from through proper data processing of the data it's collecting about us. And based on that, it will be able to give us an experience that's more of a friendly experience. At the same time, if we actually guarantee that the human is perceiving the AI as a friend because we've kind of convinced the human that this cute, likable character is your friend, how can we convince the AI to actually become our friends? How can we convince the AI to behave? Some of the most brilliant minds out there, from Stephen Hawking to Elon Musk, they have actually warned us against AI and AI's takeover and AI apocalypse. AI is taking over the world, and they are our biggest existential threat. And the reason why they've been warning us against it is because of achieving singularity. And singularity is that moment in history where artificial intelligence will supersede human intelligence. And a lot of people are saying, oh, that's so far-fetched, that is science fiction, is going not to be achieved anytime soon. But in reality, for those of you who are Game of Thrones junkies, this is like Jon Snow trying to warn against the White Walkers and the army of the undead coming to take over Westeros, and everyone's like, that is not achievable. Sorry for the spoilers, by the way. So in reality, we need to come up with a solution. We need to understand that this is a potential threat, and it's actually real. AI might not be as friendly as we want them to be, and unfortunately, since we don't have dragons to help us against it, we need to look at technologies that would help us achieve that form of protection. And one of the technologies that I actually genuinely believe that will make a difference and will help us against the potential threat of AI is blockchain technology. Now, blockchain technology is now a part of the mainstream. Everyone's talking about blockchain technology. In essence, blockchain technology is a distributed peer-to-peer consensus mechanism that is designed as an open ledger that is completely decentralized. I attended the World Economic Forum in Davos this year. I met with some of the most brilliant minds. Everyone was talking about blockchain, sometimes while sipping the most expensive wine out there, saying blockchain is going to transform the world and will solve world poverty. And my answer was like, if you stop drinking that expensive wine, that's probably going to solve world poverty much faster. But at the same time, there's a lot of promise in blockchain. But what we are not thinking about, how can this actually be a technology that is our safeguard against an existential threat, like the threat of AI. And if we look at blockchain technology, it has two sides to it. There's the cryptocurrency side, Bitcoin and all the other altcoins that are there, and there's the distributed ledger technology. I'm not going to go in detail on the cryptocurrency side, but just to look at it, throughout history, for any civilization to actually be built and prosper, we needed a form of system of trade and a store of value. The store of value is money, commodities, assets, and the system of trade is exchange, bartering, payments. Cryptocurrency can be looked at as one of those mechanisms whereby we have a system of trade, which is a blockchain-based market, and a store of value, which is the money. The notion that will cryptocurrency take over fiat currency is a philosophical argument that I'm not going to get into it. But if we think about it just from a neutral standpoint, probabilistically speaking, there is high likelihood that it might be. If we look at the world's biggest currency, fiat currency at the moment, the US dollar, its value is actually based on a promise from a government that is currently mired in a $20 trillion debt. So the fact that having a form of digital gold that is decentralized taking over that is not something that's far-fetched. The other thing is distributed ledgers. At the moment, the way or the mechanism how we are actually storing most of our data is unsecure, it is very centralized, and at the same time, it is susceptible to attacks, and it is unsecure in the way that it is being handled. So having a distributed ledger that is consensus-based actually helps solving that problem. So how am I proposing that we solve the problem of AI through blockchain technology? It is the actual fact that blockchain technology is based on a consensus mechanism, and a transaction has to be validated by the entire network in order for it to be executed, which is why it is very easy not to allow transactions from AIs that are not actually acting properly, AIs that have lower reputation system, which is why we can have reputational models whereby if the AI is not achieving the right reputation in terms of behavior, in terms of transactions that it's trying to execute, then we can not use that kind of AI which is a part of the network. However, even though there's a lot of buzz around blockchain technology, we have many problems. It's not scalable at the moment. The reason Bitcoin fluctuations have proven that. Very high fees, expensive data storage, high bandwidth. And given that the fact that we are moving towards the time of Internet of Things, which is the time where we will have connected devices from our washing machine to our refrigerator to our belt to our wearable devices. They're all going to be a part of the network. Then the network will get heavier and heavier, and the scalability problem will become an actual nightmare. So how can we actually look at it from a different standpoint? What are the other solutions that actually we can use in order for us to overcome that limitation? Recently, I've come across new technologies that are blockless technologies that are using different mechanisms that are looking at machine economy. How can we transact from one machine to another with minimal fees, scalable, quantum resistant, and that technology is IOTA, which is Internet of Things assets built by the IOTA Foundation. And it's one of the most promising technologies out there because they're using what they call the tangle. And the tangle is blockchain without the blocks or the chain. So instead of moving in blocks of 2D, we're actually expanding in 3D. And those of you who are AI geeks, the tangle itself resembles an artificial neural network quite loosely. So it's a very promising technology, and it can overcome the limitations that we do have with blockchain. So I encourage everyone here to actually look at this technology, not from a cryptocurrency standpoint, because that's too volatile, but just from a white paper standpoint, from a technological standpoint, I believe it's very promising. And finally, to conclude, I genuinely believe in a world where AI and humans or people can become friends. We need to ensure that that relationship is benevolent. We need to ensure that we can ensure the longevity of our species. I need to make sure that my son is going to live in a world where AI is more of a friend and not of a threat, which is why us developers, founders, and business owners that are in this field, we need to make sure that any technology that we're building is safeguarded not only for us and for our current gain, but for the future generations to come. I encourage everyone here to use the amico.ai app. It's our first attempt at solving the friendly AI problem. We still are in our very early beginnings, but your feedback is quite appreciated, so please do come and talk to us after that. Thank you so much.